All right, welcome everybody to the Passive Income Show. We are really excited to have a special guest tonight. This is Dinesh Thiru. He is the VP of Marketing for Udemy. So tonight, we're going to be really delving into the brand new Udemy pricing update and how the pricing changes could affect our business, the data behind the decision, and everything that has to do with pricing. I know a lot of people have questions about this tonight. They've had questions for the last 24 hours. You guys have probably been really busy in the last 24 hours answering questions. I know you guys have been on the phone with a lot of people. So we're excited tonight to, I feel like this is a coup. I feel like an old-time reporter who got, the hot scoop with Dinesh here. So welcome, Dinesh. We want to welcome you aboard and welcome you to the Passive Income Show.
Well, thanks. I'm super excited to be here. I was watching the blab that happened yesterday, and I felt like it was like CNN about Udemy, this like amazing live commentary. And so it just thought, if folks had questions, one of us should hop on and share a little bit more. So yeah, excited to do it.
Yeah, we're really glad you guys reached out. And to us, you guys are special hosts, I should say special guests. And Phil and I got to experience a little bit of that in Carlsbad when Udemy invited us out there for the panel. It was very exciting to meet people face to face. So again, welcome. And we already have questions piling up here, so we want to get to those. But prior to getting to the questions, I think it'd be good for you to maybe give us a little overview, just kind of lay the groundwork for how this pricing change came to be, maybe some of the data, some of the research that you guys did prior to coming out with this change yesterday.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I think folks are probably pretty up to speed, but I'll try to make the overview fast. The way I think about it, quite honestly, is just that our pricing was pretty broken. The reality is that courses were list priced from $9 to $300, but 90% of purchases were happening with a coupon code and at a price point less than $50. And so we were spending sort of the last 6 months or so really diving into this. And we talked with a number of instructors. What we heard over and over again was just, it's a race to the bottom. We're locking students into these really low price points. My brand is becoming all about price, not about learning, not about the amazing content here. What we heard from students was, I'm really confused. I see one price that's really high up on the website. I see another one that's different in email. I feel like I can't trust the list prices on Udemy, and this is just sort of hurting my trust with Udemy, with the courses, with instructors, and just this overall feeling of there's got to be a better way forward. So that was some of the impetus. And then, we felt like, well, there are three big pieces to this change, right? The first was, if discounts are part of the problem, we actually just need to limit the discounts. There's no real way around that, right? So right. That's where the 50% cap on the discounts came from, and feeling like, we need to be in on this together with our instructors and trying to provide a consistent experience for students. And so that's why we wanted to have that cap for both Udemy coupons and instructor coupons. We then felt like, well, the average selling price today is about $15. And students have expressed this willingness to pay pretty clearly. They're paying less than $50 on 90% of their purchases. And even when we looked at some of our other channels with new students, $50 was that natural cap. So we thought that's sort of what led us to the $50 cap. And when we thought about caps that were higher than that, we thought that the average selling price might jump out to $50 or maybe even $70. And we thought that was going to be a bad thing for students and for instructor earnings. It was going to go outside of that willingness to pay, and courses weren't going to be as affordable, which is bad for students and ultimately hurts earnings. And then the last piece is students were just saying, the pricing's so complex, it needs to be simpler. And that's where the idea for the tiers came from, and said, why don't we just try to have 7 tiers and just make things easier for students to make that decision more about what they actually want to learn, as opposed to having to always make the decision based on price.
So it sounds like you wanted to remove some friction in the buying process, right?
That was a huge part of it. Yeah. I mean, from the student's perspective, and we heard this over and over, it's like, when I have a learning need, when I have some skill I want to go pick up, I have to wait for a coupon to go do that. And I get coupons fairly frequently, but still you're putting a friction in the process. I can't just go over and actually get the course that I want to get. And so yeah, a good part of it was how do we reduce that friction and then ultimately also increase the trust. I thought Scott Duffy put out a great article that was sort of highlighting how a lot of the things we're doing are really trying to increase trust in the marketplace. And we were working on the pricing work actually before any of the piracy stuff happened. But yeah, that theme of increasing trust is really important to us, and I think is really how we all enable more students to learn on Udemy, become more successful, and we just felt like we got to do a better job there. And so this is one of those steps.
Right.
Yeah, I really think that's great. And even from the instructor side, you mentioned just how confusing it was for students. As an instructor, for me, not being a marketer, not ever starting my business, selling anything on my own before, it was confusing to know how much to charge. And so it was always just a guessing game for myself. And not that the change will... Not that like a new instructor will know exactly what to charge now. It will help them though, because it's more limited. And I will say, honestly, for me, it was kind of just, I'm going to put $300 so that it looks like it's worth a lot. And I think that was the big issue, is that you had a lot of instructors doing that. And maybe it helped. Maybe there were students who saw that it was discounted to $10, a 90+% discount. And maybe that did help a little bit, but for the long run, I can totally understand how that is not the way that we want the market to go. And the whole trust thing, myself feeling like, how can my students trust me if I'm always discounting my prices to $19 and having the actual price be $300, $200? It just, for anyone new to Udemy who doesn't know the system already, it just felt weird charging that much. So I'm hoping that the new prices helps new instructors kind of know exactly what they should charge. I know it's still a little bit hard, and we could kind of talk about what your suggestions are a little bit later, but that's just my experience coming up to this point. It's kind of confusing, and it was just kind of like throwing a dart at a dartboard to see what I should charge for my courses. Yeah,
and we weren't helping you out there, quite honestly, right? There are these constant $10 deals, $15 deals, and so when almost the entire site is on sale, every course is on sale for, say, $15, what you're doing sort of makes sense, right? It's put the list price up at 300, signal that this course is of the highest quality, and it creates this strange incentive to actually not price your course at just the fair list price for that course. So we needed to solve that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Dinesh, if what kind of surveying or maybe research did you guys do with students to come up with, because I've heard this statement a lot, students had confusion with regard to choosing courses. So I'm wondering what kind of market research or what kind of surveying you guys did to arrive at that.
So great point. So we did a bunch. It was both qualitative and quantitative. So we did actual phone calls with students and just talking about pricing and hearing some of their feedback on it. And we actually have students who write into us pretty frequently. We ask them just, what parts of Udemy could be better. There's actually one question in particular, the sort of magic wand question, what would you change? And there are quite a few folks who are like, I would change your pricing. I can't trust it. I don't understand why the pricing is so different. So there was a good amount of just talking with students and hearing that feedback directly, which is a little bit more anecdotal. And then we also did some more quantitative research and analysis and testing. And one of the biggest efforts that we did, I think y'all might remember, we did some price testing in the summer of 2015, sort of fall 2015. Right. And what we did was we basically showed a version of the marketplace to new students where all of the list prices were less than $50. And the discounts they were receiving when they came onto Udemy were also less than 50% off. This is an extremely hard test to run. There are a lot of caveats around it. It's actually a huge kudos to our engineering team for even being able to pull this off. These guys are, all of these folks are really, really impressive. But the crux of it was students were actually spending more on Udemy when they saw that type of marketplace, where just the list prices were already below 50, where the discounts were already less than 50% off. And so that was one of those strong sort of more quantitative tests we ran that also had us feeling that, you know what, that natural $50 cap isn't just a cap that we have driven the market to through our own discounting. It is actually just more of the natural market cap for online courses, because we were seeing that even with new students, this was sort of a better way to price. So yeah, that's a little bit of some of the data and analysis we looked at.
Yeah, when I first heard the announcement, I was a little shocked, just like a lot of people, because any big change is going to create that type of response. And as I was thinking about it more and more, I was like, okay, these guys have probably some of the smartest marketers / data collection people around, right? I'm gonna assume that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but I'm
there
assuming
are two folks who work at Udemy who have a course on SQL. So yeah, and didn't know SQL beforehand. They learned it here. So yeah, a lot of smart data folks here.
And so I figured, okay, they've been doing this. There's a couple things I was thinking. First of all, they've been doing a lot of analysis. They did all the pricing tests last summer. They also are kind of at the forefront, Udemy is, of online learning. There's very few companies that are at your guys' level in terms of having access to that much data, that many students, that kind of thing. So I went with, we have to think of this as business people, not think of it as an emotional thing for our business, but more as a business decision. Is it going to generate enough additional sales to give us a higher revenue as instructors? Obviously, your mileage may vary. It depends on the instructor, the topic, all that kind of thing. But generally speaking, do you expect that this is going to increase revenue across the board in, again, generally speaking? And if so, by what amount or what percentage do you think students reacted to those pricing tests? Do you have any kind of I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm wondering by what kind of percentage growth was that pricing test where you capped it at $50 and offered discounts?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I don't have this is the percentage increase in spend that we're expecting from students. These tests, like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of caveats around this test. It's very hard to get them to statistical significance. So more the way we took these tests was directionally, these were telling us that this type of pricing was going to be better for students and actually result in more purchases for students. I think we, and we're sharing this in some of the communities and on many of the phone conversations we're having with folks, we've recognized that many of the existing students on Udemy have been trained into the discounting that we're doing. So we are expecting this is going to take a little bit of an adjustment here. And we're also anticipating that average selling price is going to increase a bit. It's around $15 today, and we're expecting it's going to go up a bit. And so we think that's also going to be a bit of an adjustment for students. So I'm actually expecting that earnings are going to be a little bit slow or a little bit flat for a few months. What we feel strongly about is that this is the right move for the long term, and that this is actually going to end up resulting in in more purchases from students and in just a marketplace that they can actually trust. And the other piece that has me hopeful about that as well is just the speed Udemy is growing at. So, I probably a bunch of folks saw the Time article and we had announced that there are now 10 million students that have earned on Udemy. And just a year ago, it was about 5 million students, right?
Yeah.
And so it's growing really quickly. And what that ends up meaning is that in any given month, a very large amount of the purchases from students are coming from, they're coming from students who have just joined Udemy in the past few months. So, when we've been thinking about this change and how it's going to impact earnings in the marketplace, we've sort of realized that it should be the case that just a few months from now, the bulk of purchases in the marketplace are actually coming from students who never knew about the old thing, who haven't been trained into the $10 deal crack, if I can put it as such. So that has us hopeful about about how earnings are going to go over the course of this year. But I do think it's important to just be real that it is going to be an adjustment for us, for instructors, for students. So that's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah, unbeknownst, I didn't know about this change at all, but I was thinking of doing some tests and dropping some of my prices just to see if courses would sell at the lower list price. And I got some full price sales based on that. I got some at 24, 27 in that range. So it kind of supports this theory that the sweet spot is between 20 and $50, that people will not just rely on coupons. If they see it at 25, 30, 35, 40, they'll just impulse buy it and go ahead and just start learning, because the need to get the course will outweigh the need to look for a coupon, or if they, like you said, if they even know that about the coupon system that existed before. So,
yeah, and I was doing the same thing, and I know a lot of people
I saw your video, Phil. I was really excited to see that, and I'm excited to hear that too, Dave. I was curious to just hear more how that went and what that testing was like.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so for people who don't know, I have been testing some lower prices just to see what is the threshold for trying to get organic, non-discounted sales. And a while ago, I had discounted my prices a little bit, or just dropped the prices, probably around like $40, $50. And from like 200, 300, and I wasn't getting many sales. And typically my prices my courses are priced between $49 and $297, $299. But recently I was doing some tests just with some of my courses at $20 and $25. And in February and the first week of March so far, the first couple of days of March before this announcement was made yesterday, I was getting some totally organic, non-discounted sales, a good number of them. And it was just, I wasn't doing anything different other than I wasn't promoting these courses. They, I don't know exactly how people found them, if it was just from searching on Udemy and seeing the price that it was. But it was just nice knowing that I was getting sales even without promotion going on, because we all know like it's like a wave where when there's a promotion, I get a lot of sales, and when there's not, I mean, sometimes when there wasn't promotions going on, I wouldn't get any sales unless I was doing a promotion or something myself. And so the thing about February was I saw a lot of other instructors complaining about how it wasn't doing so good, but obviously because January was really a really strong month across the board, I think. But for me, it was a pretty decent month with the fact that I was getting some organic, non-discounted sales at that like $25 price range. And that leads me to a question. I know we have like so many questions from listeners that we'll maybe have to do like a speed round after we get through all of our questions. But I think there's probably a lot of instructors wondering what is the best process for them to go through now. Now that this is changing from now until April 4th when it changes, and then afterwards. And I'll just say my theory right now is that I've already discounted I've already changed the price of most of my courses to the lower price, just so that it's not a big shock to the market or my market on Udemy when these prices change. And I'm guessing that's going to help. And I'm also thinking that I'm just going to have to put my course prices at the lower end for now, like $20 or $25, so that, because you're talking about how like the average sales price course sale is like $15, I'm trying to get as close as that to possible on an organic, non-discounted basis. And so in the long run, I hope to increase that price as students get more used to these prices. But I see other instructors saying, oh, I'm just going to put all my courses at $50. And that's one strategy too. But do you have what's your advice for instructors? I know you don't know the right answer, but do you have any thoughts about what instructors should do between now and April 4th and then afterwards?
Yeah, great questions. I think you're right. This is going to be a whole new world. We don't know. I think we're hoping to get a lot smarter about how we can give better price recommendations to instructors. And we actually need a bit of a better data set than what we've had previously, because we've had all this really strange discounting going on, which is sort of preventing us from actually giving better recommendations there. I do think that, for most folks in the marketplace, your average selling price is around $15 today. And I do think most folks should be a little bit careful about jumping it up too quickly. One of the folks on the team was sharing this story, and he was like, if I'm a customer, I walk into the store, I'm used to seeing something that I buy for $15 and I like that price, I'm used to it. And then overnight it's 40 or it's 50. I'm a little pissed, and I'm like, what happened here? And so I think there's some truth to that. And so, I don't know that that's going to be the best guidance for every course. Each course is really unique, and, and courses pack in different amounts of value in different ways. But I think that's something that will be very real, that students will feel, and that and then instructors should try and be pretty conscious of. So I think, some of the things you're doing, starting with something like a $25 price point or a $20 price point, seeing how that's going, maybe testing some others and trying to get a feel for, how is the demand and earnings coming in when you move it up a little bit. I think that makes a lot of sense. I have some mixed feelings on should you do anything with your pricing right now. Probably what we're sharing with most instructors is you should go ahead and set your new prices for April 4th, but actually don't change your prices currently. I think the results y'all are seeing are super interesting and get me really excited, because you're getting these organic sales even when a lot of other courses in the marketplace are signaling to students that they're better courses because they're up at $200 and $300 price points. So that gets me pretty excited. I will say our marketing isn't changing until April 4th. So there are still going to be some of these site-wide fixed price deals, at price points like $19 and sort of thing. So that's just something to be a little bit conscious of as you're thinking about, should I just go ahead and move my price? Maybe sort of the upside of it is you just start getting more of those organic purchases sooner and start understanding what's the right price point for your course sooner. The downside of it is just making sure it gels with some of the marketing that Udemy's doing. And so there's some sort of balance there. So yeah, is that helpful in terms of a few thoughts on price? I know generally we need to, this is something we want to invest a lot more in is giving better recommendations on pricing. It's not going to happen overnight because we need to be able to actually look at clean data in this new pricing world where the discounts are just the percentage off discounts, not those fixed price discounts that really throw things off. And we've been talking with a bunch of our data science folks about how we do this. So it's going to take us a little bit of time, but it is something important and that we know we need to do better on.
That's great. Hey, Dinesh, since you're you're the VP of marketing, and I am a marketing fanatic. I love marketing. Yeah. I would love to know what kind of marketing initiatives do you guys have going forward? You said that you're not going to really start making any changes to marketing until April 4th when all the prices change. But I'm curious if there is anything that Udemy has planned that may offset that potential slump in prices short term, or in general, even in the long run. Is there anything different that Udemy is planning to help market our courses better or market the Udemy site better?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. I think one of the first things that's important to recognize is that, and actually, I think Mark Timberlake called this out in a video he had posted, or maybe in the lab yesterday. But our marketing is going to have to change in a fairly big way, right? The reality is that a good amount of our marketing today is about price as the headline, right? Is about the promotion that's happening. And what I'm hopeful about is in this new world, a lot of our marketing will become a lot more about what you can achieve with the course that you're taking and what you can learn and the amazing expertise that the instructor has. And so, that's going to be different for us. I think that's going to be different for instructors when you're doing marketing as well. And so we're going to be learning along with you a bit. That's something that we're investing in a lot. We actually have a new team on Udemy, which I'm really excited about, called our merchandising team. And this team, part of their goal is to just get a lot smarter on our students and really understand what are the learning goals of different types of students so that we can be more thoughtful in our marketing and in figuring out what types of benefits of a course we should really be highlighting to different students, which courses should be shown to different students. So I think there's sort of just a big strategic shift in our marketing, right? And there's still going to be promotions, right? And we still think that some urgency in the marketing is important. Unfortunately, just for too many students, learning is something you can kind of just kick the can down the road on a little bit. And sometimes you just sort of need a reason to like plunge in and be like, okay, just get going today. But it doesn't need to be the headline every time, right? It doesn't need to be that number one thing. So I think there's a big piece there. I'll also say this is, it's partly our marketing, but it starts to veer into our product a bit as well, which is there's just a big initiative going on here for us to improve the search and discovery on Udemy. I think, again, it's just one of those things that's not nearly as good as it needs to be. I'm getting a lot of applause.
Those are from me.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And I think that's going to be really important in a world where just a lot more purchases are happening at list price, right? And students are just coming over and need to be able to browse around and search and actually find the right course. So that is it is a complicated, tough thing. Right. I think and we could probably do a better job sharing some context on this. Maybe we should do an AMA in the studio at some point.
That would be great.
But, there are courses across a huge range of different categories. Right. I've taken astronomy courses on Udemy, ukulele courses on Udemy, marketing courses on Udemy. And I'm still really bad at the ukulele, unfortunately.
That's right. So, we need you in marketing, so stick with marketing.
Okay. Yeah. So, there's just so many different types of courses. There are students learning in so many different languages on Udemy. And so this makes the discovery really hard. But that's also something that sort of relates to the marketing that we're spending a lot of time on as well.
Yeah. Do you guys, can you share a little bit before we go to questions? Can you share a little bit about maybe the kind of pay-per-click or Google or Facebook advertising that you guys do? And is that going to change much, or will that stay similar to how you're doing now?
Yeah, of course. So still today, the vast majority of new students that find Udemy are they're coming over to Udemy organically. They're just hearing about Udemy from a friend who said, come take this course. Or they might be reading an article about Udemy, or, maybe they're searching for some sort of learning topic, Java tutorial or something like this, and then they're coming in and finding us. But we do run some ads, obviously, and I'm sure a bunch of y'all see sales from the ads program. The bulk of where we're spending today is on Facebook. But we do spend across a few different ad channels. We also spend on some Google search as well. We've done a few experiments with YouTube ads, with Twitter ads. I expect some of that's going to change in just similar ways to how all of our marketing is changing, right? And how we'll just need to get smarter about how do we really highlight what you can achieve with this specific course, and why this course is a perfect match for this potential student that we're showing that ad to, and have less reliance on just the big discount. So we're going to have to learn how to do some of that. But I don't expect sort of a big channel shift in our marketing or in how new students are finding out about Udemy.
Cool. So I could keep asking you a bunch of questions, but let's get to some of the student questions. And I was just looking through some of these, and a couple of them you've touched on already, but I'm going to hit you with one of the toughest questions first. And
right out the gates.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think it should be said that Udemy wants this to succeed. You're not trying to cannibalize yourself. And so this question I'm going to pop up on to the screen is, what if this does fail? What if April 4th happens and absolutely no one purchases a course from here till, the end of April, and we're like, uh-oh, what do we do now? Is there any sort of backup plan, or is there any sort of we're going to test this out for 6 months, or are we just going full force and going to stick with it? Do you have any idea, have you guys talked about this amongst yourselves?
Sure. So this is one of those things, honestly, it's such a big thing. We're not talking about any backup plan. We're not talking about the what if scenario of what happens if it fails. We're really just how do we make it succeed? And, honestly, this is, there are a little over 200 folks who work at Udemy now. I'd say probably half the company has been part of getting to this rollout, and then also part of making it succeed as we move forward and get toward April. So really, that's where all the focus is. I will also say, we are folks who like to be very real with ourselves and just be honest. And if we screw something up, we're not afraid to admit it. And, there are emails that go out in the company about failures and things that we've really blown it on. So we always try to keep a clear mind like that, and be willing to admit those mistakes if we get there. But really, the whole focus is just how do we make this thing succeed? We really believe in it. So yeah, that's cool. That's where we are.
I think that answers the question.
Yeah. Here's another good question, Dinesh, from Michael. He says, what about for those of us who have courses with an average selling price of over $50? I have one course that's set at $80 and have a coupon for $60. I get a small but decent number of students at that price. It seems the changes will kill that. And in general, if you could speak to that type of question where people either feel or believe, or maybe they know from experience that they could get 100, 200 for their courses.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really great question, and I mentioned that 90% of purchases are happening at a price of less than $50 today, but we also know, and I've spoken with a number of instructors who do have an average selling price that's higher than that, and so this is a great question, Michael. I think the first thing to understand here is just, I think we do have some amazing instructors who are able to sell at this higher average selling price. And that is fantastic. And what we're finding is it's oftentimes folks who have their own followings, and who have built that close relationship over time, and so there's a lot of trust with students in the value of the course. What we believe pretty deeply is that this type of pricing, $20 to $50, really is the future of online courses, and that in the future, the online course is the pricing structure of it, maybe not the exact pricing itself, but it's going to end up looking a lot more like book pricing, where it's this on-demand learning resource, and as a result, you price it in a way that makes it accessible to millions, tens of millions of folks. And that's a big part of the mission for us, right, is making learning more accessible. And we think that's a big part of why many of our instructors are here as well. And we really believe that for most of our instructors, it's about this price times volume equation when it comes to the earnings, right? There's, first of all, a deep passion for what you're teaching and for helping students succeed. And then there's also the desire to be able to earn an income from it. And our belief is that for most folks, that price times volume equation is actually going to work out better if your list price is in the $20 to $50 band. Mm-hmm. And so, so that's why we think it's important to have that cap at $50. But I'll also acknowledge, I know there are some very real cases where folks are just like, hey, I know I can command a higher price point, and I believe I should, and I think that's a very fair and real reaction. I'll also say here, I think that this doesn't mean that any online course or any version of an online course could never be worth more than $50. Right? Like I think you could imagine in the future at some point, and on Udemy, elsewhere on the web, wherever it is, you can imagine a course that is worth hundreds of dollars, that has maybe a different experience than Udemy's experience today, right? Udemy's experience today, or the experience in many of our courses, is it's more on demand. You're learning a lot through videos, a little bit of interaction through discussions, through quizzes, but you could imagine an experience that is a lot richer in interaction, where there are, blab type discussions being led by your instructor, where there are really rich community interactions, where there are assignments being graded. So I think you could imagine some experiences that are worth way more than $50, right? And maybe those are type of experiences that we should explore, and I think those are really interesting questions. I think what we've tried to do is just be honest with ourselves about the willingness to pay of students for most courses on Udemy, and try to find that balance and being real about that, and keeping courses affordable for students, and then still enabling instructors to really maximize this price times volume equation. So yeah, hopefully that helps a few different thoughts on courses priced over 50.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot, because I'm sure, and there are a lot of people that have maybe their Udemy course on their own site, or a different course, or people not on Udemy who are charging that $500, $1,000 plus range for a course, but the experience is different. So there was a question, I don't know if you touched upon this at all, but on here or on the blog article, but how will Udemy make price reduction on their own marketing of courses? Can you just clarify instructors, we can discount up to 50%. Is that true for Udemy as well for the new system? Or I don't know if Johnny had any other questions about that.
That's correct. So both Udemy and instructors capped at 50% off.
Okay, cool. Johnny, do you have any other questions about, I know Dinesh already talked a little bit about marketing, so he might have covered most of this question already, but you can ask a follow-up if you want.
Yeah, and we'd love to, at some point, have some people actually come on live. That would be great.
Yeah, we can open up that seat whenever.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Because I want to give people that opportunity too. So if anybody wants to come on live and ask Dinesh some questions about Udemy pricing, ask me questions about skateboarding, ask Phil questions.
We're going to get Michael on. He seems...
All right.
Let's get Michael on. A lot of these other questions have been answered about pricing. We do have some questions about some other things, but hey, Michael.
Hello.
How's it
Wow,
going?
I feel famous now.
Hey there.
So my situation is different than a lot of instructors. Hold on, if I hit this X, I just don't want to close things off. Sorry. If I disconnect, I'll try to reconnect.
Okay,
I didn't disconnect me. So my situation is a little different than many of the other instructors. I teach college classes, and I've priced the materials that they can get through the other sources out there, and they're often $90, $100, $150. And frankly, I wasn't very impressed with it. As an instructor, I get that stuff sent to me for free, and I can review it. And I looked at it, and I was like, none of this really covers things as well as I want to. And so I built my own material, and this is really how I found Udemy. It's like, well, I built my own material, and I'm gonna sell this to my students. I have a built-in audience. They're stuck with my price, and they're the ones that are paying the $65, which is more than the 50. 60 or 65, but it's a lot less than what they would pay if I used other materials. So yeah, there's my own vested interest. I also put a massive amount of time into answering their questions and making the material. And
what are the courses on, Michael?
Dreamweaver is my main course.
Oh, great.
That's the one that's on Udemy right now. Yeah. And I have not just screencasts. I go through and use a tool similar to PowerPoint to build concept videos that I don't see in other courses.
And do most of your earnings come from your students that you teach in person?
90%. I've had a few others. I also do work on the side, and I've had some people there, and I'll be honest, they're not my students, and I've given them bigger discounts than the $60. Or I've had a couple of people that, in order to pay me, they could either pay me or they could buy my course, and that works out for both them and for me. It gets my course out there, and
tell me also a bit, just what are your goals in teaching on Udemy? Curious, just like what's important to you? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, now you're going to put me on the spot.
Sorry, I'm asking a big question.
It's a fair question.
I am going to come back to answer some of this, but the goal is so important to me. Yeah.
So it's a fair question. The goal for right now is for the college. Right now, it's one college class. I actually teach at multiple colleges, but for the college classes that I'm teaching, for the one now, to offer my students the best material I can at a lower cost than what they can get. And yes, for me to make some money off of that, just like instructors who write their own textbooks. But doing so for that market at a price that's actually significantly less right now than what they would buy if I could point up here and start pulling down books with videos attached to them that are $120 and up. And
so Michael,
it's cheaper.
Is your question that, so you already have your students paying $60 or $65? What should you do now that these pricing changes are happening, because 90% of your students are paying that $60? Is that really what your question is?
If I bring it down to 50, maybe I make a few other organic sales, but now at $50, the organic sales are still going to be split. So now I'm making 25. Now I realize Udemy is a business. Most of my sales are coming from my students, where I get almost all of the profit and Udemy gets very little. And that has to play a part in it also. You guys cannot provide a service without getting your cut. get that. And if something has to be done to balance that, where you need to get a few dollars more of each of my sales when it's almost all of my sales are coming from coupons, I get that. I mean, you're in business to make money. I mean, you have other goals. You want to educate people, but you want to make money. That's what a business does.
I think I'm really glad you joined, actually, because this is a super important example, and I've actually spoken with a number of instructors this week who are really similar to yourself, who have an audience of folks who are paying more than 50. This isn't the vast majority of instructors in the marketplace, but there are several folks, and I know that this new pricing is particularly hard for y'all. So, my hope here is that if you do end up pricing in this new structure, and I can imagine you'd want to price on the higher point of the pricing structure because you're already getting $60 from each student. So say you were at 45 or at 50, that the amount of additional purchases you were getting from organic sales would actually make up for that difference that you were losing in the $10 or the $15 from your existing audience. And it was also why I asked about just what was your topic, because something like Dreamweaver actually is, well, there are a lot of students on Udemy who are interested in learning Dreamweaver, right? We have a lot of students who learn about technology, who learn about design topics. So that gave me a little bit more confidence that that could actually really work out. I'm not sure that it'll work out. Right. I can't be sure of that, but I think it's, for me, it would be something worth testing, kind of seeing how a couple of months go if you priced at something like 50, and were those organic sales enough to make up for that gap. And that's part of the belief behind, for us in just that, when you put the online course in this $20 to $50 range, it ends up, this price times volume equation for instructors ends up being better. And so, that would be my hope, is that actually the volume would increase for you pretty substantially to outweigh the bit of the decrease in the price. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts, but I also know that, I think your specific circumstance is one that's the structure is hard for.
Fair enough. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm stuck doing, is I'm going to have to experiment with that. Another question I would have.
You're getting a mountain of applause right now. It's incredible.
with people like me, I'm famous. Buy my course. There we go. Now I've made my money. And I'm like that. No.
Right. Now you're good.
See, now I've lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. So I'd have to look through the contract again. And I don't know the answer for this, but if I say, okay, I no longer want to go with Udemy and I have alternate companies that do something similar where I can sell at a higher price point, can I sell it on both? What are the rules on that? Because if I remember correctly, I cannot have it on Udemy and also have it someplace else. And so I want to honor the agreement, but I feel like the agreement has now changed.
Yeah. Honestly, the way I think about this isn't even so much about the legal and the agreements and all of this stuff. I try to just think about it from a perspective of like, what's best for the student. And, the student's a customer for all of us, right? And we want to do something that's right by them, that's fair for them. And so, so for me, if I was in your shoes like that, I would think, well, if I do want to have the course somewhere else besides Udemy, and I want to have it at a different price as well there, I should try to differentiate the offering somehow, right? So, and then it feels more fair from the student's perspective.
It is.
Yeah, and so maybe that's something like, okay, I have it somewhere else where I do a lot more like one-on-one mentoring with the students there, or I do some, some more interaction, or I grade some of their assignments or something like this.
But the idea would be, I wouldn't remove it from Udemy so that the students who already bought it still have it there, but I wouldn't be selling more. I'd sell it someplace else at about the same price I'm selling it now. So I guess I worded that poorly. It's not selling it at the same, two different prices and two different places. It's no longer selling on Udemy and then selling on competitor name I shan't mention.
Sure.
That's an option, and it's one I'm looking into. I also want to look into having, if I get more organic sales and I think my product is worth it, and I do think that, well, then that right there, maybe I'll make equal money for the same work, or maybe make more and get more students and serve more people. That's cool. I'm just not confident that'll happen.
The thing is that Udemy would love to have you on Udemy, selling your course on Udemy, promoting it to your audience, to your own students on Udemy. The flip side is that if all of your promotions are, there's two parts of it. Is you're promoting your course and you are making 97% of that sale, and Udemy's not making really anything because that's the credit card transaction that they have to take care of. And so they're not really making money off of that. But if you are promoting your course and selling it to your students on Udemy, Udemy is going to see that, and your course is going to rise the rankings and the search and potentially get more organic sales that way. And that's good. If you stop selling on Udemy, selling to your students on Udemy, your course, I would say still keep it on Udemy, because you could still get organic sales and Udemy will still get their cut. You'll still get your cut. It's just not going to be as easy, because I can say, I think that Udemy likes when their instructors are promoting their courses on Udemy, and it kind of works both.
Students
both
see
ways,
the social proof. They see the number of students in there and the reviews and these sorts of things. It's a great point.
Yeah. So
thanks, Michael. Appreciate you calling in.
I appreciate the answers, and I've thinking to do, and I mean, so far I've enjoyed the experience at Udemy. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just whining and complaining, but
no, absolutely.
It's a concern.
Honestly,
this is a true concern.
Honestly, Michael, I'm really glad you joined the call, because while most instructors are selling at a price less than $50, I know that there are instructors like yourself who do sell above 50, and it's actually really important that we're able to talk about this. So I really appreciate it.
I can see by my support number there are 446. I can't be the only one. I'm sort of blown away by that. Anyway, that's pretty much, those were my main points. I will give time to other folks. I don't want to. I've already monopolized Michael. A lot, so all I can say is thanks. Appreciate the chance.
Thanks, Michael.
Appreciate it.
So there's a question that I think a couple people are kind of asking or hinting at, and I'm going to bring up. I think this is the one. If you should have a course that you truly feel is worth $200, should you edit it down to a quarter for Udemy's $50? I've seen a lot of instructors asking about this. Is now that the courses you can only charge between $20 and $50. If you have a huge course and a small course, the difference in price might not justify the difference in price. And so should we start, making smaller courses to make up for the price? Do you have thoughts about that, Dinesh?
Yeah. So this is another question that a bunch of folks have been bringing up with us. My hope here is actually that courses are going to be able to better maintain their value in this new pricing structure. The reality is the average selling price today is about $15, but we are anticipating that will go up. So my hope is, say that goes to $20 or to $25 or something like this, right? My hope is, instructors on the whole end up earning more per student, which actually allows you to invest more into the quality of your course, into the length of your course, these sorts of things. I think the tough part here is the perceived value, right? Because, the perceived value is going down, that cap is going from $300 to $50. But I'm pretty confident, and it's part of why we made this change, that the real value is actually going to go up on a per student basis, which should give more reason to invest into the course. I also just think the reality is Udemy is a marketplace, and for many topics, particularly topics with that are really popular, there is competition in the marketplace, and we do know when we talk with students and ask how do you make that decision on a course, we do know that that quality of course is obviously extremely important, right? And students look at reviews and all these things. We also know that length of course is important to students. And I don't think that's true for every topic. Do you just want a super long course? But, I think there are certain topics where students really are looking for sort of a more comprehensive resource. And that's part of why they come and do an online course as opposed to videos on YouTube or something like that. So I think that's something at least to be thoughtful about if you're considering trimming down your course. So I don't think it's the smartest move, but I can also understand how there might be certain situations where it would need to make sense. Those are some thoughts.
Yeah, across the courses that I have on Udemy, I have about 40 right now on Udemy, and I have some that are very short because they're very focused on a specific objective, and the objective is just not a huge objective. It's just something that can be taught in an hour and a half or so. And then I have a course that's 8 hours long where it really gets in depth on a broader topic. So, and they don't seem to sell very differently. I do know the comprehensive course for sure sells a lot more. And I believe that Udemy promotes it as well because it's so comprehensive and it's probably proven itself out in terms of conversion. Can you speak a little bit to that, like how conversion rates affect whether you guys promote the course or get behind it?
Sure. The big thing that, the first thing I should say is I think there is sometimes a little bit of a misconception that Udemy is sort of handpicking each course that we promote. The reality is it's actually algorithms that we have that are determining the vast majority of which courses are promoted or not promoted. And our data science team's getting bigger and bigger, and those algorithms are getting more and more sophisticated. There used to be a time where I could actually talk about them sensibly, but less so now. Just maybe more broadly, conversion rate is a factor that we'll look at when we're doing a little bit more manual curation or promotion of courses. But it's actually quality ends up being a much bigger factor. And so, we are... we're very focused on the student experience, right? We really sort of believe we're here to help more students learn. And when more students are learning, that ends up meaning instructors can teach more folks. That ends up meaning more earnings in the instructor community. So the bigger factor ends up being the quality of the course. And we also have found in our data that when a student enrolls into a course that's a really high quality course, they actually go on to spend more on other courses than when a student enrolls into a course as their first course, which is a lower quality course. So it's sort of not just belief, but we see that in our data as well.
That's
which
good.
Thankfully we see. God, if that wasn't true, that's a scary idea.
Yeah, really.
By the way, we do have an open seat, so if anybody wants to call in, we'd love to have you guys come on and ask Dinesh your toughest questions or your nicest questions, whichever.
Yeah, and I know it's almost 7 o'clock. We like to keep this around an hour, and we don't want to take too much of Dinesh's time. There are some questions. Maybe we could do just like a speed round, Dinesh. You can answer these questions. A couple of them aren't related to the pricing, and I don't even know if you're able to give this information, but can we just do a quick speed round to get through some of these questions that we haven't answered yet? So the first one,
let's do it.
The first one, Johnny Ray asks, heat mapping helps in discovering how students find courses. Are you using this technology? I'm assuming he's asking about heat mapping for the website clicks and where people are going.
Yes, so we do use that technology. I've seen it's used specifically on course landing pages, so we can understand which elements of a course landing page students interact with. Are they heavily focused on titles or promotional videos or descriptions, these sorts of things? I'm not positive we've used it in Discovery, but I'd be surprised if we haven't.
Cool,
that's great.
This one we talked about ads a little bit before, but can you say which ads work best for you, Twitter, Facebook, or Google ads?
Yeah, sure. Facebook ads are working the best for us right now, or it's at least where we're able to put the most dollars to work at a good ROI. We've had decent success with Google Ads. We're a little bit earlier on with things like Twitter or YouTube. The thing about Facebook is, the targeting on there is honestly a little bit scary, right? Yeah. How specific you can get. And I think particularly for something like Udemy, where there's such a diversity of courses, right? Folks teach on so many amazing, unique topics. Being able to get really specific with the targeting is really powerful and helps make the ads work.
Great. Awesome. We got another question from Johnny, and we've answered most of these other questions in previous answers. So this one is about Amazon as well. Amazon has a special program that analyzes your book and tells you what you will gross based on various prices. Have you taken a look at such for Udemy courses? I don't know. Do you know about that at all, Dinesh?
I haven't looked at that specific program. We do study Amazon and Kindle a bit, and we did look at their pricing structure as well. But I haven't looked at that specific program. So yeah, we'll have to take a look.
Yeah,
thanks for the heads up there.
That is for the Kindle, just to be clear, for the Kindle ebooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like we've answered most of these questions in some sort of way. Dave, do you have any other questions for Dinesh?
I don't have any either. I did see a few recent ones pop up here, like, sorry, this keeps going up.
Yeah, there's another one. This one I think is pretty easy to answer. Johnny asked as well. So if we have a $20 course and we discount it ourselves to $15, and then Udemy offers it for $10 because they can discount it for 50%, what will the student see? And will I make the 15 or half of the 10? So I guess this is probably determines on how the student gets to the course landing page. If it's coming through the instructor's link, they'll see the 15, or do they still see the $10 if they're doing a promo like that?
Yeah, so if the student is clicking on a link you shared with them that is marking the course down to $15, then they would see the $15 price point. But if they had clicked through a link that we had shared, maybe in an email or something like this that had marked it down to 10, then they'd see 10. So you kind of nailed it, Phil. It would depend how the student got to the page.
Got it. This is a good question. I can't bring it up for some reason, but can we switch prices once we set them up? So if we start out at 50 and want to change it to 20, are there penalties for changing prices often, or is there any rules with that?
Yes, you can continue to change your price. I don't know if I'd recommend changing your price every day or every week. It might just be a little confusing for students. But yeah, you can set that price where you want to.
Just not going. There's a newer rule where you can't go from free to paid and back and forth
right.
multiple times. Right. Cool. I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I would still like to open it up to questions. How much time do you have, Dinesh? I'm curious.
I'm starting to run a little bit low. Two reasons. One, my computer is going to run out of battery at some point.
Okay.
And then, I've got a baby. I got a baby at home who does not know that price change happened this week, and has decided to sleep for, it's not so much about his sleep; it's more about my sleep.
Yeah. He's not concerned about price changes.
I'm sure my wife would like a little bit of help at some point, but I'm happy to be here for another 5 or 10. I think the computer will hold up if there are a few more questions.
Yeah, Isaac's not concerned about price change; he's concerned about diaper changes, right?
Yeah, precisely. I don't even know if he's that concerned about those. I think, unfortunately, concerned about those.
Yeah, I'm a brand new grandpa, so I'm getting back into the diaper change business. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, wow.
So
how's it going?
It's going great. I love it. It's awesome. Yeah. Well, we have
I think you've got the good end of the deal.
for sure. We do have a caller. Let's take this call and then we'll wrap it up pretty quick here.
Sergey wants to come in again.
All right.
How you guys doing?
Hey, Sergey, how's it going?
Good.
Hi, Sergey.
I just had a few questions about this whole. I mean, first of all, it was for us. It was just none of us expected this, so it was kind of shocking that we just got like a message and in the studio group. I was wondering maybe next time send an email before maybe, and before you go and open it up to discussion. I think maybe it's gonna reduce the amount of people like getting shocked, and then everybody is just asking all kinds of questions versus just let us know that in like maybe like give us a little more time, because like for 30 days that was like fast. So
Yeah.
a lot of us were not expecting it and didn't know what we were going to be doing. So that's my question here would be like, next time would we have a longer notice?
It's great feedback. We and I don't think we do enough to share on this and share how we approach some of these changes. We do, as I mentioned, this is something we spent almost 6 months really studying in a lot of depth, and we did talk with, I'd say, probably dozens of instructors over the course of those 6 months. This is a tough thing because, quite honestly, we'd like to be able to talk with every instructor, really. And they're like, instructors teach in so many unique and different ways on Udemy that like, even when we talk with dozens, I don't feel like we necessarily get the entire perspective. But we do talk with a number of folks, and I think we could do more to share on our process there. I will also say, one of the things that we worry about sometimes with kind of giving a preview on a change this big is, are we going to cause a lot of anxiety in the community if we share something that is a bit half-baked and that isn't really together? Are folks just going to start worrying a lot, and then we're not as thought through as we need to be able to really support our instructor community? So we worry a bit about this. I think it's really fair feedback, though. I mean, this is a big change, and I can really get how it can feel abrupt. I think it's something we could be better at. There's some of these tough challenges with it as well, though, that we struggle with a bit here.
Cool.
Another question is the price structure. Right now, it's like every $5, but I mean, those studies about the $9 too. So I was wondering maybe after a while, if you guys be a little more flexible. I mean, it still stays between 20 to 50, but maybe let us maybe change it to like 29, 39 and test that out.
Yeah.
Maybe something like this, maybe
So,
a little more flexibility. I mean, in terms of that. Oh, there was another question that has a little bit to do with it. People were asking about offering something premium content. Like, let's say people have something they want to sell at a certain price. Will Udemy create something that people can enroll in? That's going to be a little bit like VIP section where people who wants to become members, they have to pay like extra, something like YouTube actually has now. So that's just something for you to think about. That's all.
yeah. So I'm really glad you asked the question about the pricing tiers and, ending in 9. This is something actually we debated a bit before making this change. There were two things that drove us toward just the 0s and the 5s. And actually one of them, I forget who commented on this in the studio, but it was really like hit the heart of what got us to just the 0s and the 5s, which is just wanting the pricing to just be a lot more honest and straightforward, and feeling like there's something about 0 and 5 that are just they're kind of round numbers, or the 5 is just right in the middle, and that just had a little bit more of that. Even though I think you're right, there are a lot of studies about the charm price of the 9. Something about 4s and 9s didn't just have that same feel. And then the other thing is we actually did some real testing with students here. we had this kind of gut feel, and we asked students, we sort of showed them different pages with 4s and 9s versus 0s and 5s. And actually students felt that the 0s and 5s were more trustworthy. So we vetted this out with students, and yeah, that feedback came back. And then, I think your other point, I think there are absolutely opportunities. I kind of mentioned it earlier for a more premium type of online course. And you can imagine a different experience there, one that's a lot richer with different types of interaction. So I think that's something we want to think about more. It's not on the immediate roadmap, but it is something we want to think about more.
Great. I think we're going to have to cut that off, Sergey. Thanks so much for the great questions.
Thanks, Sergey.
I know Dinesh is going to have to go home to his family. I'm going to have to go make my wife dinner, which I promised her. And Dave's got to...
What are you making?
I'm making some stir fry. Yeah, We got some fresh stir fry.
Well, Phil, I'm only 10 minutes away from you, so I might be over there.
Come on, skate on by. But Dinesh, do you have any final thoughts or words you want to say to everyone just to wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, first of all, I know this is a really big change. Hopefully you can tell a little bit hearing from me, we're really excited about it. Honestly, we feel like it's just going to be more honest pricing that's going to end up being better for students, and we feel like that ultimately will also make it better for instructors as well. And hopefully y'all are feeling that really the whole team here is here to answer questions, to be able to give support. You've probably seen more folks in the studio from Udemy than ever before, and that's part of why. When we saw the blab yesterday, we thought, maybe if folks have questions for us, one of us should try to hop on and share. So, if you do have specific questions around your specific course, please do reach out, and we are happy to talk.
Thanks so much, Dinesh.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dinesh. It's been great. I'm glad that you guys reached out, and I'm glad that we were able to bring this, in real time, bring it live to our audience. And we're looking forward to seeing some interesting changes. I mean, like Phil and I said, we already jumped ahead and started to lower our prices and see how that works. I just happened to I think it was last month or the month before, just do a little test. No, it was last month, January. Do a little test to see how lowering my prices, if that would result in full price sales. And it has. I won't say it's been a lot of full price sales, but it has been enough for me to see that does work. So, I feel like when I first got into Udemy, I had to either buy in fully to the Udemy concept or culture, or decide whether I was going to do, teaching outside of Udemy as well. I happen to do both because I come from the info product world and already had a lot of information products that may not fit Udemy's particular guidelines. So, and that's a good solution for anyone that's maybe doubting or questioning is, hey, leave your stuff on Udemy for now. You're not going to lose anything by that. And if you want, maybe potentially test other platforms for higher priced sales. But I don't see any harm in keeping our courses on Udemy and seeing how this plays out, at least for the next several months or even the next year. One last question I had, Dinesh, before we leave this, and that was, what kind of projections do you guys have for the growth of Udemy in terms of student numbers? Or the other maybe related question is, what do you see the overall online learning market size? Maybe you've got these stats for us.
Yeah, maybe we drink a lot of Kool-Aid over here, but we quite honestly just believe the way the world learns is changing. Like people used to think like learning is something I do when I'm in school, when I'm like 5 to 22, and that's it. But really just folks are realizing like learning's how you achieve your goals in life. It's how you like make big changes in your career, how you follow your passions. So we really think just online courses and Udemy should be the type of thing that one day hundreds of millions of folks actually use. And And so, you know, I'm 5 years into this, and Phil, you're 4, and you know, I mean, I still feel like we're kind of we're second inning on this thing, maybe top of it. So I don't know. We don't do a lot of just, okay, exactly how are the those student numbers going to project out 3 years from now, 5 years from now. But we do drink a lot of that Kool-Aid.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
Great. Yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you so much for joining us, Dinesh. I really appreciate your time here. And thank you all of
Absolutely.
you for
thank you all.
Thank you all for joining us as well. This particular replay is going to be available at this same exact link. So if anybody missed any part of it, you'll be able to just come back to this link once it's processed. It takes a few minutes. And by the way, we just posted next week's show where we're going to have Jack Wilson, who is a fitness expert and Udemy instructor, and he's going to be sharing his success story about teaching on Udemy. So thank you all again. We'll see you guys next week. Be sure to join our Facebook group. It's in the chat there. And we'll see you guys on Thursday next week.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much, Dinesh. We'll see
Great.
you guys later.
Bye-bye.
See you at Udemy Live.
See you, everyone.